Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie I've Had Enough. Enjoy the movie. William Foster is stuck in a traffic jam. He is tormented by the heat and annoying insects, his song, children who squeal around him, annoying everything he looks at. William spit on his car and just got out to walk home. The abandoned car is now being dealt with by a police officer. Sergeant Martin Pendergast came over to see what was going on. It was his last day on duty. The three men rolled the car aside and the sergeant memorized the license plate number. William called his wife, but didn't say a word. Afterwards, he went to the store to change $1 for change, but the clerk refused him. You have to buy something. Well, let it be a can of Coke from the refrigerator. The Asian salesman is not good with English and William is angry that he twists words. The Korean does not want to learn the language properly, but his country has invested a lot of money in Korea. A fight broke out between the men. When the Korean took out a bat, William smashed the counter and now resents that the seller took him for a robber. No, he is a thief, since he charges 90 cents for a Coke, and he is just defending his rights. He likes the 65 cents better. He thinks all goods are overpriced, so they'll be destroyed. So how much is a can of Coke? 50 cents, babbles the Korean, and William himself takes the change from the cash register. The whole department makes fun of Pendergast. They poured sand in his desk and reminded him that an old man was 2 minutes away from retirement and he was hit by a bus. So anything could happen today. His partner Sandra apologizes for her colleagues, and Martin digs up a picture of his daughter. William calls his wife again, but this time the phone is busy. He brought the bat with him, by the way. Martin receives a call from his wife, who is troubled and asks his spouse to come home as soon as possible. She also has a picture of her daughter on her desk. Foster has a big hole in his soul. He crouches down for a break in a dangerous neighborhood and is immediately accosted by two Latinos. He's supposedly on their property, but if he is, he's gonna ask the young men to let him through and he's gonna leave right away. No, he won't just leave, he'll pay, like with his briefcase. The bandits pulled out a knife. The day was not going well, but if they wanted the briefcase, they would get the bat that was under it. Throwing the bat away, William picked up the knife and continued home. The sergeant surrendered his weapon. His colleague asked him to make a report. A Korean man approaches him and tells him about a strange guy who trashed his store but didn't steal anything, except for his baseball bat. 5 Latinos driving around the neighborhood looking for a badass glasses guy. William finally speaks into the phone. Turns out he's already divorced from Bede, but intends to come to his former home today anyway, since it's their daughter's birthday. If he comes, Bede will immediately call the police, at which point he was tracked down by thugs and shot up the entire street, but William himself was not hit by a single bullet. The losers crashed the car. William came up to look at them, missed. He laughs at the hairy one, takes an Uzi and shot him in the leg. After advising the wounded man to take shooting lessons and take a whole bag of guns, the crowd breaks for the pugnacious clerk. Pendergast is summoned by the captain, who is surprised that such a good cop is retiring early, but there is no way to persuade him to stay. Martin says he had a child, a girl, but he and his wife lost it. William Foster takes an unkind look at immigrants, bums, drunks. He couldn't get on the bus, and a worker wouldn't let him walk down the street. Bede providentially called the police. William keeps showing up whenever he wants. Not even a restraining order helps. William is not an alcoholic or a drug addict, but he seems to be violent. No, the man didn't hit her, but he always seemed to be on edge. In the park, the man is accosted by some loser and begs him for money, to which he reasonably gets advice to get a job. Actually, he's walking through his park. And with 2 bags, why doesn't he give 1 bag to someone in need? No problem, William gave the beggar the suitcase, but inside was only a sandwich and an apple. Of the gang, only the girl Angelina is okay. She's giving a statement about some white guy in a tie who attacked her friends with a baseball bat. As soon as Martin heard the bat, he realized it could be the same robber. These 2 crimes happened in the same neighborhood. William got to the burger place. He ordered an omelet, but the smiling girl told him that they weren't dropping breakfasts anymore. William called the manager. He resents not being able to eat breakfast and having to address the employees Rick and Shelley as if they were his high school friends. The manager nonchalantly confirms that William will not get breakfast after 11:30, and in response the nervous man pulls out a machine gun. The place panics, but William tells everyone to stay seated and continue eating. He accidentally shoots a line into the ceiling, but now Rick and Shelley don't mind feeding his guest breakfast. He's changed his mind, though. He'd rather have a hamburger and a salad. But even here the customer was disappointed. Instead of a plump and juicy hamburger, as in the picture, he was given some loose stuff. Martin came with Sandra for lunch. She is not happy that the man is neglecting his career for his wife, who wants to move somewhere in the countryside. Their conversation is interrupted by another coworker who laughs that some scumbag opened fire because he wasn't served breakfast, but he paid and then just left. Martin asked to find out if he was wearing a white shirt and tie. William liked the $3 toy and immediately bought it to give to his daughter. The cops leave the beat house. They concluded that the man would not show up today. William was run over by some guy because he'd been in a phone booth for so long. So the hero shoots the guy. Sandra called from the burger place and said that the perpetrator was indeed wearing a tie. At the same time, Martin's wife called him again and is harassing him because he hasn't come home yet. The hole in the soul gets to Martin and he goes into a military gear store to buy himself some hiking boots. The store clerk is a scumbag who is debating which cleats will be more comfortable for kicking homos while looking at a gay couple, and immediately pulls out a gun when one of them hits him back. Prendergast figures out that the suspect now doesn't have a bat, but a whole bag of guns. While William was in the fitting room, Sandra walked into the store. The detective is looking for a man matching the description of the customer. Baldy has not seen such. He wonders how to address the police officer. The officer, and satisfied with himself, closed the store. Foxy has William Foster in the back room, which is a real museum of Nazism. He brags about the bazooka and wants to give it to his guest. The Nazi listens to the police wave and knows about William's exploits in the cafe. He's 100% blown away because there were Negroes sitting there, but the clerk won't play along with the racist. He knows enough white bastards. He's just walking home, and he's always getting in the way. The pissed-off salesman pulls a gun on William and goes into his bag. He makes the fatal mistake of smashing the toy. The Nazi is going to hand William over to the police, and in the jail he will meet his favorite Negroes and Jews. That's where the knife William put in the bald man's shoulder came in handy. "Now you'll support freedom of religion," William says, and shoots the Nazi. The department laughs at the fact that Prendergast is interested in the case, and the captain takes off his mask and admits that he has always despised the sergeant, saying he spent his whole career fiddling with paperwork and nothing to make a cowboy out of himself. Martin himself admits that he has to retire because of his wife. She is sick, afraid of everything, and constantly threatens to jump out of the window. William again terrorizes Bede on the phone and threatens to come. In between, he says that in some South American countries, men are allowed to kill their wives. Prendergast and Sandra come to the store in Korean to talk again, but the place is familiar to him, so he climbed up the hill and saw a stretch of road where a car was abandoned this morning. It all came together. They'd be able to find out who the man was from the license plate number he'd memorized. In another traffic jam, some asshole was cursing at his grandmother and immediately got punched in the face by William, who had time to change his clothes. He curses at a worker for turning around a normal street just to get money out of the budget. When the man saw the gun, he got nervous, and for good reason. The psycho pulled out a bazooka, but William found it difficult to handle. Good thing he was instructed by a schoolboy who had arrived. Naive, he thought he was making a movie again. Foster accidentally pulled the trigger and the grenade flew somewhere under the asphalt. A few seconds later it exploded next to a team of workers. The partners came to Foster's mother. According to her at work, William did all sorts of things to defend against the communists. She also says that the son sometimes just sits looking at one point and silent, and he also has a look like he wants to kill her. Sandra finds out that the defense complex where Foster worked has long since burned down, so where did he go every day? To take a shortcut, William climbed over the fence and is now walking across the golf course. The old man got mad and even threw a ball at him. William immediately pulled out a shotgun and started to resent that instead of having two old farts having fun here, it could have been a park for kids. The old man had a heart attack, and the pills were left in the golf cart, which Foster shot, and it rolled away into the pond. Bede was left alone for the second patrol. Her ex called her again and resents that there are no horse toys in the store, only hippos, and he's also already at the cafe next to them. Bede grabbed the baby and ran out of the house, tricked William. Now he sits and watches a videotape of the family celebration. The partners figure out where Foster's ex lives and are about to move out, but Martin is distracted by his wife again. The sergeant freaks out and orders his wife to shut up, and surprisingly she immediately calms down, while his wife is joked about by a witty co-worker and immediately gets punched in the face. Even on the video you can hear how William Foster constantly nightmares his wife. He guessed where his wife and child may be hiding, and just then the partners arrived at the house. Sandra ran into the house and was wounded in the stomach. Martin took her gun as is already surrendered. William, like a Terminator, ran along the pier and finally reaches his goal. Before he dies, he reminds Bede and kisses her and then pulls out his gun but puts it on the ground to hug his daughter. Martin speaks to the family. He unnerves the psycho and shows Bede his gun in passing. The sergeant tells how his little girl once fell asleep and didn't wake up. William puts the gun back on the sidewalk. Bede grabs it and throws it into the ocean. She immediately runs off with her daughter. The bespectacled man finds himself in Martin's crosshairs. He accuses the psycho of being about to shoot them both in a few seconds. William says he has more weapons in his pocket and pulls out a water pistol. Martin immediately shoots him and the perp falls into the water. The captain praised the sergeant in front of the reporters, and he responded by sending the chief in the ass, so the girl had a birthday. On the TV screen, spending time with his family, still happy William.